Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy, and we're back again with NFL Week 3 picks. Last week I went 8-8, very unfortunate. A lot of upsets happen. Even in my weekly pick'em leagues, the best anybody is right now is 24-8. I am currently 22-10, but you know what? It's all right. I think we can bounce back this week. Although there's a lot of tough games to pick this week. Very, very good matchup. So let's just get straight into it. Patriots at Jets. This should be a no-brainer. Although the Jets offense hasn't looked as great as it could be, it is, it has been a while since Aaron Rodgers played. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Patriots played competitively against the Seahawks, a blocked field goal pretty much made the difference in that game, so I'm not going to fault them for really that much. But I do think at the Jets at home is going to be the difference maker. I think they'll run the clock out. I think it's going to be a very run-heavy day for both Ramondre Stevenson and Breece Hall. But the Jets defense should be able to hold Jacoby Brissett to maybe about 20 points. I'm not too sure. Either way, I'm going with the Jets at home for Thursday night football. Chicago Bears at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts really stunk it up at Green Bay. All those opportunities to score, all those defensive stops, and they let Malik Willis just have very good efficiency numbers and just play all day, and Anthony Richardson couldn't get anything going. And the Bears, offensively, is a hot pile of garbage. And yet their defense is really well balanced. Held CJ Stroud to 19 points, lots of three and outs, you know, plenty of good stops for the Bears defense. I really like what they're doing on defense. It's just Caleb Williams. I know he's a rookie. I know it's only game 2. This will be game 3, but still, this is ridiculous how bad he looked. He was pressured on almost 100% of his snaps. Almost 100%. You know how insane that is? And this game is just really going to come down. Can Caleb Williams can make some plays? Because I think Anthony Richardson will do okay against the Bears defense, but I'm not too sure. He hasn't really looked that great either compared to week 1. Was week 1 just a fluke against the Texans defense? I'm not too sure. But I think the Bears are going to do just enough on defense to maintain it. It might be just like week 1. They may force a couple turnovers and just win it that way. Caleb might be asked to score a few field goals, and that might be just enough for the Bears to get away with a win. I'm not really confident in this pick, but I got to go with the Bears. The better defense is going to win it at the end of the day. Giants at Browns. Browns. I'm sorry, Giants fans. It's just one of those seasons again. I wish you best of luck in the future. Browns, get rid of Deshaun Watson, please. He just sucks. Please just get rid of him. Packers at Titans. Now, it's amazing to me how heavily favored the Packers are, despite not having good offensive showings. While and the Titans have a much better defense than the Colts, they're at home. Packers do still have all their playmakers, and Jordan Love is practicing. I don't think he's going to play. If he plays, give me the Packers all day. But I don't think he's going to play. They'll probably give him 1, maybe 2 more weeks to be fully healthy, 100% ready to go. And I don't think this is going to be a Malik Willis revenge game. I think for that to happen, Josh Jacobs is going to have to get rolling again. I don't think he's going to rush for 150 plus yards like he did last week. Titans defense has been holding it down these last couple games. It's just Will Levis hasn't been making the plays. Couple interceptions, couple bad throws. He had one really good throw to Calvin Ridley last week, but can he do it at the end of the day? I think the Packers are going to lose, but just barely. I think Will Levis can make a couple plays, but I think his defense is going to be the one that makes the play to save his ass from go Titans. Eagles at the Saints. Eagles choked it from the Saquon. You can't even blame the loss on Saquon because that's just one bad drop, but you also let Kirk Cousins just demolish your defense in a minute? Darnell Mooney, Drake London, bam, touchdown. Like, why did you prevent defense so much? What's wrong with you? You guys had it in the bag. You were doing so well the entire game. And the Saints just put up over 40 points on the Dallas defense, who just smoked the Browns. You know, back-to-back home games, the Dallas defense allows over 40 points a game. And the Saints just look unstoppable. They're not like beating you by running out the clock. They're not dinking and dunking or anything. No, they're playing solid defense and just finding all their playmakers. Rashid Shaheed is their biggest playmaker. 70-yard touchdown bomb last week, a long touchdown bomb the week before. Chris Olave got going a little bit last week. You hope to get him a little more involved, but he's still their best receiver, so you got to worry about him. Kamara, 4 touchdowns last week. 4 touchdowns, over 180 total yards. And even worse, the Eagles are going to be without A.J. Brown. How can I possibly pick the Eagles in this hand? I got to go with a hot hand right now. Not to say I don't see the Eagles. I can't see the Eagles winning because they are still a really good team, but just no A.J. Brown. You're going to have to get past Carr. You got to slow Carr down. Carr and Kamara, you got to shut them down. And I don't see that happening this week, especially not at New Orleans. Maybe it was at Philadelphia. We could have a little more of a balanced argument, but not this week. Chargers at the Steelers. Oh my God, this game is going to be like 9-6, 10-14, 13-9, something like that. This is going to be the this is going to be the slugfest of this decade. I don't know who to pick still. Like, I have my pick, and I just don't know who to pick still. I'm not confident in it because I can argue both sides. Chargers offense is better in terms of quarterback play. They have better, I'm not going to say they have better receivers, but the quarterback, Quentin Johnston, he got a couple touchdowns last week. He was getting going. Ladd McConkey, you still want to see him get more involved, but J.K. Dobbins have an electrifying season so far. Glad to hear about him. Gus Edwards, nowhere to be found. J.K. just took over the role. Defense, very solid. Has allowed, 13 points in 2 games, while the Steelers have allowed 16 points in 2 games, when, 1 touchdown each team, and Steelers have had to go to Atlanta, to Denver. Chargers have played the Raiders and went to Carolina, so this could go either way. Pass rush on both sides is insane. The Chargers offensive line is probably better. They have 2 really good star offensive tackles, but how are they going to do against TJ Watt? I think Herbert is going to get sacked probably twice. I think Fields is going to throw 1 pick. I think this is going to be a battle of running attacks, which is ironic because I feel like they can both stop the run a little bit. Chargers have never been known to stop the run, but they've done a little bit of a better job. Justin Fields is going to be forced to throw. I think he can get it to George Pickens, no problem. But I think Herbert's going to be the better quarterback at the end of the day to make the play. But even with that being said, I think the fact that it's still in Pittsburgh, and I think Mike Tomlin is going to have a game plan to slow J.K. down, and I think he's going to force Herbert to make some uncomfortable passes or have T.J. Watt just all over him. We're going to see. If the Chargers can maintain T.J. Watt, they can win this game. If T.J.'s going to be T.J. and just pressuring him on half the plays, then Steelers are going to barely win. They might win again with multiple field goals. This could, like I said, I don't think either team scores more than 17 points. I think that is the max amount of points either of these teams score. This game is 50% on fan base ratings. On ESPN Pick'ems, it's 50-50 currently right now. That's insane. I haven't seen that across the first 2 weeks, and I'm seeing it here. But all in all, I think the Steelers are just going to squeak out a win. If the Chargers win, I wouldn't be surprised. But either way, one of these teams are going to go 3-0, and I think it should be a very competitive game. CJ Stroud against Sam Darnold. Who would have thought that these two would be the battle of also another 2-0 teams? Sam Darnold looked great last week. Justin Jefferson looked great. I think he'll play. I'm not sure if he'll be 100%, but I think he's going to play. CJ Stroud had to go against that sluggish Bears defense, but he came through. The Texans could have won more comfortably if they didn't fumble, towards the end of the game. But it's all right. They still got the job done. Caleb wasn't looking that great. Now, with the Vikings, they beat a really good Niners team. Niners were without McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason still got it going. So you can't even say, oh, they lost McCaffrey. Well, they still had a running back still go over 100 yards. They lost Debo towards the end of the game, and he's not going to be expected to play this week. But even so, I'm really happy for Sam Darnold. He's looked great. I think he's going to continue to look great. I think this Texans team is going to give him a run for his money. This is going to be probably more of a high-scoring game than the Niners and Vikings was. Not too much, though. I don't think it's going to go into the 30s or anything. But I think C.J. Stroud is just going to be the better playmaker. He's got the more weapons. I think he's going to get Diggs. I think he's finally going to get Tank Dell a little more involved this week. But Nico Collins has been a force to be reckoned with. He has been putting up some good numbers. So you got too much to worry about. But I think the Vikings will make it close. I think this will be maybe a 3 point game. CJ's probably just gonna make the bigger play at the end of the day. But if the Vikings win, we got a conversation to talk about with Sam Darnold and how good these Vikings can be. And now we have the opposite of that. Yeah, Tampa. I'm There's not much I can really say. Bo Nix, and it sucks because he's just a rookie. Same thing with Caleb, but they just haven't looked good. No rookie has looked great. Jaden Daniels maybe, but he hasn't scored a single touchdown. And with Denver, you only allowed 13 points at home, but you only scored 6 points, and you're throwing interceptions in the end zone, not looking good through the entire drive, punting, punting, punting. You know, couldn't get anything going. Can't get your running backs going. Granted, the Steelers defense is much tougher than the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers defense just maintained the Lions, held them to 16, made them not look as efficient as they should be. Baker got Mike Evans going week 1, week 2. Chris Godwin is going. What do you have? Over 10 catches and over 100 yards and a touchdown. He was converting multiple third downs. Like they still got their weapons. Those are still some guys. You hope to see Rashad White get going a little more, but even if he slows down, Bucky Irving's a good solid scratch. I don't know what you can do as Denver. Even if you hold them, can your offense really get much going? I want Bo Nix to have a decent game. I hope it happens here, but even if he does, he's still gonna lose. Dolphins at the Seahawks. Tua just got placed on IR. He's going to be missing at least 4 weeks if he still, for some reason, wants to come back and not retire, despite having multiple concussions now. This early into his career, he wants to keep playing. So if he wants to keep playing, cool. But he's going to be missing till at least week 7. So, and Seattle plays hard defense. They play the Patriots very tough in New England. They're going to be at home. It's going to be a loud crowd. You're going to have your backup quarterback in. They're not going to start Tyler Huntley yet. If they want to start him, he's going to have to get into the rhythm a little more before that. So you got Skylar Thompson right now, who I think can throw a little bit, but he is the backup after all. I don't really know what you could really say. Devon Achane, he can get going, but you got to do a little more than just run the ball against Seattle. You're going to have to throw, and Seattle's got a tough secondary. You still got Jalen and you still got Tyreek. You got to find a way to get them involved. And I think Gino's been playing very efficient ball. I think even if Kenneth Walker, I think he's going to play, but even if he doesn't, Zach Charbonnet, just like last week, he didn't have good running numbers, but he did score. He was okay when he was needed. I think he'll have a better outing over against the Dolphins defense. And DK and JSN just could not be stopped last week. Both combined for over 10 catches, over 100 yards apiece. That's really good to have. Love to see that from JSN. I think that continues this week. I think Tyler Lockett can get a little more involved this week against that Dolphins secondary. I think Geno's just going to have a field day with this. I think the Dolphins are going to fall behind. I think Geno's just going to continue, run it out. JSN, here's a third down. DK, here's a third down. And that's going to be the ball game. And then you can't run with Achane all day if you're behind multiple scores. And I think that's just what it's going to be at the end of the day. I think Seattle wins by multiple scores. In Seattle, yeah, it's not even a question. This fucking game is still hard. I still don't even have an answer. I'm making a pick on the spot because I can argue both sides. Like, are the Ravens really going to fall to 0-3? Or is Dallas really going to fall to 0-2 and lose 3 straight home games? Like, there's no good choice for this. It's like no matter whichever team loses is gonna have just the crappier luck. Like, how do you even argue this? The Ravens blew it versus the Raiders, and the Cowboys just got curb stomped by the Saints offense and defense because that had 3 turnovers last week as well. And I still don't know who to pick. God, because you got to rely on a little more than CeeDee Lamb. And the Ravens, you want to run a little more. You have Derrick Henry. You try to get him involved a little more. You had the game put away, and then you decided to stop running with him. Lamar wasn't really running as much, and Derrick Henry wasn't getting as much touches either. And it's not like you were throwing to all your receivers. Isaiah Likely wasn't getting much involved. Mark Andrews had a few catches. And the Ravens, I don't know what to really say about them. But I'm only picking the Ravens on this one because I find it harder to imagine them falling to 0-3. And let's say the Steelers win, they fall to 0-3. Steelers go to 3-0, and they go from division champs to this. Like, I find it. I think they need to get their shit together, and I think they got to do it this game. I don't think it's gonna be a clean game. I think it'll be a kind of an ugly game, honestly. I don't think there's gonna be any mistake-free football going on, but I think the Ravens will do just enough to squeak by the Cowboys. Not that I think the Cowboys now sucker all of a sudden. No, it's not that. I just think they'll be due for a really good win soon. If they lose this game, they'll be due for a win next week or the week after. We'll see. I think Dak, he's not going to throw 2 picks and a fumble again. I think he'll do much better against this Ravens. I don't think the Ravens are going to score 40, maybe early 20s. I think it'll be mid 20s game. But yeah, I'm only picking the Ravens off of a hunch that I find it harder to believe that they'll be 0-3 before Dallas goes 1-2. Panthers at Raiders. Raiders. There's no time for even me to debate about this. I mean, what do you say as a Panthers? You're going to start Andy Dalton, and he has a winning record against the Raiders. I guess you got that for going for you. That'll surprise a lot of people. You know, the red-haired quarterback continuing his winning streak against the Raiders, that'd be something. But I think the Raiders defense is just too much. That pass rush is really scary. I think Gardner Minshew can get enough plays done. I don't think he's going to have to do much. I think they're going to rely on Zamir White and Alexander Madison to just carry the load and let the defense do their thing. I think it should be a very simple game as that. Lions at Cardinals. This is almost as tough to pick as the Ravens Cowboys, because the Lions haven't looked like themselves. They haven't looked like themselves most of the first 2 weeks, and they had it going last week. They could have scored a game-winning touchdown. They got really close, and then 4 and out. Game on the line, incomplete pass, Bucks win. And Cardinals smashed the Rams, absolutely demolished the Rams. Granted, they were very injured, but still, Marvin Harrison, amazing game, 130 yards off 4 catches. 4 catches and a touchdown. You got him involved. You still got James Conner. Trey McBride looked really good. Kyler's looked really good. Like, all these quarterbacks have looked better than the ones you expected to be good. Minus, like, maybe Josh Allen. But still. And with the Lions, they got to get back to their normal selves. They got to start running again with Gibbs and Montgomery. Get St. Brown involved. And just score when you're supposed to, They let up too many times where they should have scored a touchdown, and they just didn't. Especially towards the end of the game. If this is a tight one towards the end of the game, Lions gotta do what they do best. Just pound the rock and just find the end zone. They've done it all last year. They can do it again. They still got every player is the same player. But the argument should be in the Lions' favor. It is in the Lions' favor. They are favored. You want to put the Lions back into, okay, they're back to, winning the division. They're looking good. It's all good. But something's just telling me it's like I'm picking the Cardinals. And the Kyler hype train is going to slow down at some point. It could start this week very well. Granted, it's against a very good team. But, man, I just love the way Kyler's been throwing the ball. Like, he's been fantastic through the first 2 weeks. And I don't think he's going to drop fucking 35 on the Lions or anything. But I think he's just got a better efficiency. I think the Lions have been trying to throw too much with Goff, and it just hasn't worked out in the favor. And if they continue that, I think Kyler's going to outscore him by a good amount. So I can understand why the Lions are favored. I can totally understand if you think this pick is bizarre. When like, oh yeah, the Lions should win. I wouldn't even bat an eye if the Lions won. Niners at Rams. Both teams are hurt, but the Rams are quadruple times injured. More injured than the Niners. Niners are going to be without McCaffrey, but that's no problem because their backup is solid. They'll be without Debo, but you still got Jennings, who's a very efficient playmaker. Catches almost everything thrown to him. The guy's got really good hands. Meanwhile, the Rams, you just put Cooper Kupp on injured reserve. Puka's on injured reserve. You're missing some of your linemen. Yeah, Niners are going to destroy you, and I'm really sorry because I want Kyren and Stafford to do what they can, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, man, it sucks because the Rams were looked at as like playoff contenders, I had them making the playoffs as a 5th seed or even a 6th seed, but with a good record. And if they're gonna keep getting injured, they're not gonna get anywhere. So sorry, Rams. I hope it all works out for you guys. And that brings us to Sunday Night Football. Chiefs at the Falcons. Falcons pulling out a good win. Chiefs barely escaping. A lot of people are going to blame the refs, and as much as I would love to shit on the Chiefs for having the refs help them, it was technically the correct call. I think a lot of us were wanting the Bengals to beat them. Jamar Chase is screaming at a freaking referee, and then they get a pass interference to let Harrison Butker kick a game-winning field goal. You see how it is. But you know what? It was the right call, so I'm not going to get too upset about it. And I do think the Chiefs are going to carry that win over against Atlanta. I do think Atlanta could win, but it is primetime, and primetime Kirk does still exist. Last game was on Monday night. This is Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football Kirk is much different. Bijan can still get going. Drake London can still get going, but I think the Chiefs, who even without Pacheco, I think are still going to win. Because they still got Mahomes, and I think they'll do just fine without Pacheco. Although the running game is not going to be nowhere near as efficient. They did just sign Kareem Hunt to the practice squad, who they're probably going to lead into the main role, at least maybe over Samaje Perine. But either way, I'm going with the Chiefs to barely escape out of Atlanta. The two Monday night games. Monday Night Football, Jags at Bills. Jags have looked like dog shit against both of their teams. I don't know what is going on. They're not getting Christian Kirk involved at all. They're not getting Evan Ingram involved at all. They're not throwing well at all. The defense is playing okay. That's going to change when James Cook runs for like 200 yards, or maybe Josh will throw for 400 yards. I don't know, because Trevor is not playing well. The play calling is not going well. The head coach isn't calling the right plays. The Jags are like, it's crazy that the entire AFC South is going to be Texans 3-0 and the rest of the division 0-3. And that's going to happen because the rest of the teams just don't know how to use their best players. So go Bills. And then Commanders at the Bengals for the other Monday night game. This one a little further out than the Bills and Jags. And I want Jaden Daniels to score his first touchdown. They won last week kicking nothing but field goals. They took the Steelers route, except they actually, scored more points than the Steelers. Yeah, they did. I want Jaden Daniels to score his first touchdown here. But even if he does, I think the Commanders can make this an interesting game. But Bengals are due for a win. There's no way they also fall to 0-3. They almost beat the Chiefs last week. Like I said, some people will blame the refs, but we won't talk about that. It was the right call. But the Bengals looked significantly better than what they did week one. I still don't get why they lost to the Patriots week one the way they did, because T. Higgins is probably still not going to play this week. But you know what? The Bengals got enough to escape with a win against the Commanders. I think it'll be an okay game. Commanders can make it close. Maybe their kicker will kick 8 field goals and win the game. I don't know. But Joe Burrow is going to put on Burrow. It's almost like last year when the Bengals were 0-2 or 1-1, and then they played a primetime game and they won, and then they played another where they were in their all white, outfits with the white striped helmets. And that was really cool. That could happen again. For some reason, Bengals just love repetition in the start of the season. So Bengals are going to win. And that should really be it. Those are my week 3 NFL picks. If you want a quick recap of what I picked Jets, Browns, Titans, Bears, Texans, Saints, Steelers, Bucks, Raiders, Seahawks, Ravens, Niners, Cardinals, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals. Those have been my NFL Week 3 picks.